Yeah, so now we'll be looking at what is mobile testing, types of mobile platforms, types of mobile application, and challenges, importance, and best practices, categories of mobile testing, and a few other slides. So now with mobile platforms, we have, as you rightly know, we have different types of operating systems. For instance, you have the Android one developed by Google Incorporated, and iOS, BlackBerry, Windows, and Symbian operating system. You will notice that a lot of the most common ones are the Android ones. Most Samsung mobile phones have the Android operating system. The iPhone, they have the iOS one. BlackBerry is going extinct now. It's not really popular anymore. So that's why you have the popularity as very low. Windows as well is also popular, and it falls within the medium popularity and all that. So the reason why I've just given you an overview of this is just so that you understand that you need to have an understanding of the operating system, just so that you have a brief knowledge about all this. Now we have the different types of mobile devices. We have, as you rightly know, we have tablets, e-books, and smartphones. Now, web. So we have the next thing we're going to look at is mobile application types, and so web apps are not real applications. They're actually the actual websites that open up on your smartphones. An example of a web app is BBC. So basically, Gmail and Yahoo. These are examples of web applications here. And one of the benefits of this is that because they are not actually specific applications that reside on your phone, they are more like applications that you have to launch a web browser, and then you have to log in bbc.co.uk, gmail.com, yahoo.com. You have to log in to them. So one of the benefits is that these applications you can have them displayed on any mobile application, on any mobile device. And they also have give good user experience in terms of, you can, most of them, like for instance, BBC provide news, Yahoo, Gmail provides email delivery. You can access them everywhere. They are very easy to develop, adaptation to different screen types, easy to update and all that. You don't need to install them. And one of these downsides is that you can't have them available offline. If you don't have any mobile data on your phone, you cannot actually have them displayed and all that. Now, so just so that we understand what I'm doing, I'm going through mobile application types. I've talked about web apps now, which you launch from the browsers on your phone. The next one is the native application. An example of your native application is the very popular one that we all use: WhatsApp, Facebook, your internet banking applications. So benefits of these ones are that you have to go to Apple Store, Play Store to actually install them, download them and install them on your device. These applications make full use of your application device features. So for instance, now you would find out that a lot of them would want to use your location settings. They want to use your camera. They want to use your the fingerprints on your phone and all that. They can also work offline. Sorry, they can also work offline. They give you notifications. When people are chatting with you, you see notifications on that or on your devices. You have push notifications, alerts, and all that. Now, one good thing about them is that native app maintain UI design of each operating system, so they give you the best user experience. You will notice that WhatsApp will more like adapt to how your mobile device is and all that, and you're able to enjoy it better than if you're launching to maybe like eBay from your web browser. So a good comparison is if you launch eBay from your browser compared to launching eBay, downloading the eBay application and then installing it on your phone. You'll see that there are two different user experiences from that. So downside is that for you, for a native app, because it's specific to an because it's something that you have to download and install on your application. You want to, as you rightly said, offer best experience. So there's a high cost for building the app. Unlike a website that you can just deploy, build, deploy, and that you can access it on any kind of application. For web apps, there's concentration on specific operating system, specific mobile devices, and all that. So those are the that's the downside. It involves a bit of money to develop them. And another thing is that another good thing about them is that they provide regular updates. As they are building them, they are deploying them, they are having releases very often with bug fixes, enhancements, and all that. So those are the kind of things that happens with web native apps and all that. Now the hybrid app, now as the name sounds, it's an hybrid. It sits between a mobile app and a native app. It's neither of the two, but it sits in between them. An example is Instagram, and the way you would know an hybrid app is, for instance, if you open the Instagram application on your mobile device and you open that on the browser as well, you would find out that they offer almost similar. You would hardly tell the difference between the two. That's an hybrid app. So examples of benefits of hybrid app is that it's cheaper than in developing a native app. If you are a product owner, or if you are a business and you don't have enough money to develop a native app, the best thing, if you don't have enough money, you can benefit from developing a hybrid app, because you don't have to spend. You provide a functionality that opens well on, that gives good displays properly on the browser, and also if they download it as an application, you have the same features displayed and all that. And it can also be built across different platforms, easy to maintain. It takes advantage of the features of a device as well. You can host it in Apple Store, Play Stores, and all that. And and also it has a browser embedded within it, even within the app as well. For instance, if you go to Instagram now, you can find out that on Instagram you can launch a web browser, navigate to sites and all that. So one of the downsides is that the graphics are less accustomed with the operating system as compared to the native apps, because as we rightly said, native app, you are building it for specific operating systems and all that. And hybrid apps can also be slower than native apps. So now we are going to be moving on to types of mobile devices. Now we have real devices and we have emulated devices. Now the reason why we have emulated devices is that, for instance, if you are on a project that let's say you're on gift rate project, or in a project, let's call the project gift rate, and you are developing an application, and the requirement is for you to test the application over a variety of mobile devices. Now, it is very, very hard and very, very very expensive for you to have different types of iPhone devices, Samsung devices. Just to be honest, there are hundreds of devices out there. So you have those something that is called an emulator. Now, an emulator will mimic the functionalities of a real device. So you can have some emulators live in the cloud. Some are cloud-based application. Some are virtual machines and all that. So there are different types of, for real devices, we have different types of operating systems. Different, as you rightly saw at the beginning, we have different types of versions. There is a great deal of manual effort to test, especially when testing on numerous devices, as I said, and it's also very expensive. Now, emulated devices, they give you a big list of different versions and operating systems of mobile devices. They are hosted in the cloud. They are open sources. Some of them have paid versions, and some of them gives you free trial. Now, they are very easy to use. They require less effort and provide you logs, reports, and all that. So I'll be showing you an example of an emulator very soon. And some of the disadvantages about emulators is because they live in the cloud. They require on the speed of they live in the cloud. They require speed of your internet device, of your probably your internet and all that. Some of them might give you false reports because they are not actually real devices. Some of them are malfunction and all that. Now, as I said, because emulators are cloud-based applications, because emulators are cloud-based application, and so they would have to, one of the downside is that you rely on internet speed, you rely on the speed of your device, probably of your laptop, and some of them give you false reports as well because they are not real devices. They're just like adaptations of real devices and all that. So real life scenario like color display. So one of the things that you might find very hard to test as compared to testing real devices is like real life scenarios. You want to find out the color display. For instance, you notice that phones have adaptation to sunlight, to and other things such as maybe like if one of the scenarios that you might be required to test as it while you're performing the test scenario is how would the application respond to an SMS interruption or or phone call interruption and all that. But with emulated devices, you might find that very difficult to do because, for instance, if you are testing over like uh, maybe like 10 devices simultaneously, you might find it very hard to send a phone call to them or to send an SMS to them to interrupt it and all that. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking at the challenges, importance, and the criticalities of mobile testing. As a tester, we need to, there are several thoughts that will come to us while we are carrying out mobile testing. And some of the questions that we may be asked as a tester is, what devices do we need to test? Sometimes we are on a project where our product owners or our business analysts, they might come to, okay, well, you are a specialist in this area. Now, with regards to this application, what can you give us guidance on the devices that we need to test? So you need to carefully consider, a good combination of real and emulated device to provide a good test coverage and also to ensure that your application is it works properly uh, without defects on these devices here. And another thing that you need to also look at is what the device version is also important. So depending on the target environment and business requirements, you are faced with the question of okay, which device version is important or which device version is supported or no longer supported and all that. Network connectivity is also an issue. Localization. So one of the things is that you might not be able to simulate things like weak signals, lack of connectivity. Even if for something like weak signals, lack of connectivity, and all those kind of things might be an issue that you might also have to look at while you are carrying out your tests. You might need to simulate things like offline, online, weak signals and all that. Now, different application types play important roles in mobile testing, resulting in app being tested in different ways. For instance, the way you test an e-commerce application will be different from a financial application. You'd have to test various things like performance, security, targeted workflows. So many things that you have to consider um, uh, with regards to the business requirements that you've been given and all that. So this list is not exhaustive. It's just something. The reason why I'm going through this is just to give us an idea of the things that we need to consider while doing mobile testing and while trying to help the business write their requirements or provide insight or guidance as to how mobile testing will be carried out. Now, other things that you need to look out for as well is other things that you need to look out for is there are so many tools out there. There are also challenges in choosing the suitable ones. We have Appium, SourceLab, Calabash, Celeroid, Beatbar. There are a couple. There are a couple. There are lots more. You can Google them just to find out the different types out there. But I think Appium, SourceLab, they are very popular and widely used on for mobile testing. I know that. All right. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is just bear with me, please. So we're looking at best practices for mobile application testing. Uh, with regards to, as you would have it in UI testing, you have to have a test strategy, and you have to devise a strategy that helps you to lay down certain guidelines which all testers are expected to follow, so that you would have uniformity in testing and ensure you have adequate test coverage. So basically, you would have to have a test strategy that would that would enable you to test your application properly, and also have and also give that uniformity in testing across your teams and across your project as well. Now, and other things is you need to apart from having to test across a wide variety of operating systems and devices as well, it's also good for you to test your application on a real device. And the benefits of doing this is also so that you would have an understanding of how your application works on an actual device and as compared to emulators and virtual devices as well. Now, testing on real devices ensure that test results are realistic and gives you a better idea regarding the look and feel of your app and its general usability. One other thing that you need to do as well is to test early and test often. So as soon as development work has reached a logical state, start testing. The reason that because if you test early, you find bugs early. They are easier to bugs at early stages are easier to and cheaper to fix than when your application is deployed and it becomes so cumbersome and complex. And also you might you might have issues with release and versioning and all that. So so for one good approach is to start testing early and all that. Now you need to set your device and operating system preference. It might be virtually impossible to test all devices, network combinations, operating system combinations. So you need to determine upfront which devices and operating system your application will specifically cater for and perform quality assurances on them. Now, another thing that you need to also, another best practice is automation testing. Now, automation, as you rightly know, it helps you save time. It helps you free up time that you would actually that manual that you would it helps you free up time which manual testing would have actually taken you time to complete. It gives you a high return on investment. It gives you benefit of repeatable testing. You're able to carry out regression testing easily and faster. And but one very important thing is to keep in mind a periodic maintenance of your automation testing suite. You don't want to have an automation testing framework that you are not maintaining. So you need to have a good maintenance life cycle for your framework in order for it to give you the desired benefits as well. Adequate performance and adequate you need to, oh, another thing to consider is performance testing, stress testing, security testing, just to ensure that you have good coverage as well. You can test your performance of your application against, like we said earlier, against different types of maybe network connectivity. You can test it against uh, different types of users. You can try to hack your application and all that. So check for known and unknown vulnerabilities, including those arising from third-party and open source software packages. So what some of the things that you might look out for is consumption, how your application is working in comparison to the battery of how in comparison to the power. How for instance you might check test your application against battery consumption, maybe for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Look at how, you run the application and check power consumption against time and all that. Now, fault tolerance and interoperability. In terms of interoperability, I'm talking about maybe your application, you're running, for instance, let's say your application is WhatsApp and you're also making a phone call at the same time. You want to check whether your application will crash, or maybe if your phone if let's say you are running the application, a phone call comes through, you want to check that the same place you were before the phone call came through is where you are after the phone call must have ended. So those are the kind of things that you have to just widening the test coverage, ensuring that the application under various circumstances and scenarios is able to perform as expected and all that. Maybe, for instance, you might you might be using the application, decide to switch off mobile data to use Wi-Fi. How will the application behave? Those are the kind of things that a tester will do and check for. And also one other thing that you might also have to look at is how to help business analysts write test scenarios that would look at faults, because your work as a tester is to determine, you see, not to look at what could go wrong. Basically, you're looking at what could go wrong, and you are also writing tests against what could go wrong in order to build up the quality of application and all that. So the last thing about best practices, ensure your application is truly global, depending on the work, the project type, and the client's requirements and all that. You might need to look at this. You carry out usability and accessibility testing and all that. Yeah. And just so that you know about usability testing is about the look and feel of the application. How easy is it for you to use the application? Accessibility looks at how the application is, how people with maybe hearing impairment, eye sight impediment, and all that. What is the feel of that? How well are they able to use the application despite all these hindrances that they might have and all that? So as you already know, we have different types of testing. We have functional testing that looks at how the application and its features work. Performance testing, how the application will perform against various performance indices. Memory testing. I just talked about interruption testing, phone calls, SMS coming through. Installation testing, how easy is how easy is it for the application to install? You know, when you go to Apple Store, you're downloading the application. Are you able to download it within a specific time? These are the things that there are various requirements that will be given for the application. These are the things that you need to check for. We just talked about usability testing, check for efficiency, satisfaction, user satisfaction, effectiveness, and all that. Now, I'm just going to quickly pause this while we did it. All right, so we're going to be looking at mobile testing tools, and our focus is going to be on Appium. And now, Appium is an open source cross-platform test automation framework that we can use with native, hybrid, and mobile web apps. Basically, it's just an automation, an open source platform which we can use to automate all the different types of mobile applications that we've talked about earlier. Now, Appium drives iOS and Android apps using the WebDriver protocol. So it works on the back of WebDriver, which you have learned in your automation classes. It's a black box testing. A black box testing tool. So you don't need the source code of the application to use Appium, and you also don't need the source code for gathering information like UI elements, IDs, or anything. So you can use test practices, frameworks, and tools of your choice. So basically, you can use it for both manual. Sorry, you can use it with any mobile, any programming language of your choice, or any type of framework. Whether you want to have a Java Cucumber framework or a C# spec flow framework and all that. So it is based on Selenium and interacts with the application's UI. In subsequent slides, we'll be looking at the architecture, how it works, and all that. Now, so another type of mobile testing tool is SourceLab. Now, SourceLab provides is also a cloud-based testing framework for native and hybrid application on Android and iOS. It is based on Appium open source projects. It supports scale testing on Android and emulators and simulators as well. And it's also performed testing on both open source as well as commercial framework. So to be honest, I'm just giving you the overview of these applications. I think it would be good for you to Google them, read up about them, and have more knowledge and understanding of what they are. CTS Cloud is also another mobile testing tools. If you Google different types of mobile testing tools, you would have up to like 50 different types. So it would be good for you to have knowledge of some of them, and then you can talk about them. But I think Appium, SourceLab, these are the ones that are very, very common. So talking about them in interviews, if you're asked about mobile testing, will do you a lot of good and all that. So this testing tool is designed by Experitest. It provides automated and manual mobile application testing on Android, BlackBerry, Windows, and on real devices and emulators as well. It supports responsive UI testing and continuous integration environment. So if you Google this CTS Cloud, it gives you the opportunity to have a free trial and see how it works. So there's also a paid version, but there's limited functionality with a free trial. one other thing that you need to consider is a test. So apart from having an understanding of all these tools and all the different types of approach that you can take to complete that you need to complete mobile testing, you also need to understand the basics of testing, which you would have done. So I'm just going to go through these, gloss through them quickly. I'm sure you would have done them in your mobile, your manual testing, and so you need to understand what a test case is. A test case is a set of condition of variables under which a tester will determine whether an application or system or its features is working as was originally established to do. So it's just having some preconditions and all that. A test scenario, you cannot always carry have a so testing is always very you cannot have an exhaustive testing, as in you cannot test everything possible, but you have to have a good representation and a good number of scenarios that would give you assurance that your application is working as expected. So scenario testing is to make sure that end-to-end functionality of an application under test works as expected, and it checks for all business flows. Uh, it checks that all business flows are working as expected and ensures that you have good coverage of the application under test. So this is just a checklist of things to follow. They're just for guidance only. I'll just go through them. So like I said initially, your test scenario, you can have installation as a test scenario. Installing the app, you can use your given when then clauses, getting clauses for that if you're doing automation testing. On installation is also a scenario. Launching the app, putting the application to sleep or standby can be a scenario. Closing the app, upgrading the app, um, change of orientation, whether you have landscape or portrait orientation, downgrading the application version or upgrading it as well, and then changing the state of the application from different modes, maybe putting on the Bluetooth, screen mirroring modes and airplane modes and all that. So these are the various kind of scenarios that you can test for mobile application. Just the way you would use application. A lot of us do different things on our application, on our mobile devices, and this is also, and without knowing that, we are carrying out different test scenarios basically. So this is just for guidance only, and just to give us an understanding of the kind of things that we need to look out for when we are putting our test scenarios together. Now, when we are doing when we are executing test cases in mobile devices, we need to break down the testing into two broad categories: functional testing, UI testing, so which includes the UI testing, workflow testing, and performance testing. Then also we need to have some. Oh, sorry. So we need to have some specific requirements to follow: installation, or with installation of other apps, launching and all that. So it's just basically something that we've looked at um, earlier. Uh, Now, another thing to consider is every application will have a form of defects. You need to have an understanding of how you file your bug reports. What is the goal of your bug reports? So a bug is any unexpected condition which does not satisfy a particular requirement. So you need to document your bugs properly. You need to have a good title. You need to have a very short and descriptive bug description. Uh, Steps to reproduce the bug. You need to provide that in your bug reports. The environment where the bug is being picked. For instance, if you are running your test on an iPhone version of maybe iPhone, let's say you are running your test on iPhone, and then you find the bug on iPhone 5C, or so you need to provide the device version, the device operating system, the build number, and also maybe, for instance, if it's on a particular environment, maybe it's on dev environment, if it's on a future environment, or if it's in probably like maybe a staging area, or depending on whatever environment that you have within your project. You also need to provide credentials, username and passwords of the user, just basic things that will allow the bug to be reproduced, screenshots and all that, or screencasts and all that. So, and then you also need to provide logs as well. When we go through a mobile a mobile testing device. I'm sorry, a mobile testing tool. I will show you the kind of things that you need to put on your bug reports. Yeah. So you also need to, depending on what has been set by the business or the project team in which you work. Some project team allow testers to give priorities and severities and all that. So basically, a defect priority uh, uh, is defined in the order in which so priority talks about the order in which the developer should resolve a defect. We have low, medium, and high priority, and also is basically associated with scheduling. And so it's just about scheduling. How soon should the uh, the defects be rectified or prioritized for remedy and all that. So if it's something that is very high, for instance, if your application on installation crashes immediately, then you'd find out that this is a high priority defect that you're raising. And and maybe there are the low priority ones might be things that are very minor, that the application could still work. You can still run the application despite the defects being on the application and all that. So severity talks about the impact a defect has on the operation of the product, the degree of impact. You have the critical ones, you have the major ones, moderate, minor, and cosmetic. So it's associated with functionality or standard. And For instance, a critical so for instance, maybe when you launch your application, that it crashes just immediately you launch it. You can believe it as a high priority, high severity defect. But to be honest, it's just you as a tester just need, as a mobile tester, you need to have this understanding. But majority of the time, these are things that these are things that you might be asking in an interview. But and also sometimes these are things that will be set by the business or the project team that you work. You might not be required to put any of this in your bug reports, but it's always a good idea to. It's always a good thing to have it, to know it and know how to apply them. Now we'll be looking at what is Appium, the architecture, how Appium works, and some other things as well. So the focus of this mobile testing training is to one of the focus is to look at Appium as an automation testing tool. Appium is very common. It's an open source tool that we use to automate mobile application, and it's written in Node.js. And so you'll find out that a lot of applications are written in Node.js, and it's because they're able to, these are mobile applications written in Node.js are very fast. They execute very fast as compared to Node.js is JavaScript, as compared to other programming languages there. So Appium can automate native, hybrid, and web mobile applications. Yeah. So it supports Android operating system, iOS, and you can also use Appium for Windows desktop automation as well. Yeah, it supports many programming languages. So we have these screen shows you types, mobile application tools, and so it supports, as I said earlier, different platforms, different programming languages, and I think it was discovered in 2012. I can't remember the name of the person, but it's an open source application. Yeah. So let's go ahead. Okay. So Appium is a HTTP server written in Node.js, and it's a client. It works on a client server architecture. So when we mean client server architecture, if you look to the right on my screen, you would have you have your Appium clients, which can be which is written in any language of your choice, any programming language of your choice. You see that here it sends a HTTP request to the server. So the WebDriver JSON wire protocol um, transmits the message to the Appium server. So this is your Appium um, client, and then this is just a brief description of how it works. You have the Appium server, which establishes session with the clients. So you can see that the client is sending information with the blue arrow, while the server is returning back the session to the clients. And then from the clients, you have uh, a carrier which is called UI automation for iOS and called UI automator for Android. So this would also be between the client and your real device. You also have these little messengers carrying information from helping Appium to carry information uh, from the Appium server to your device, and then returning back the information, and then so that's why they call it a client server application protocol or framework. So Appium HTTP requests, which are then so as we said, okay, all right. So Appium then runs the automation script against the native automation framework for the device. For example, UI automation. So as I said to you, you have UI automation. So for iOS, the messenger that carries the information from Appium to the device is called UI automation, and for Android is called UI automator. If you go to this link, Appium IO docs, you'll be able to find more information as to how Appium actually works. If you're interested in doing that, yeah. So this is another diagram. So the client enables you to write your language in different you write your code in different programming languages. It works on a JSON wire protocol architecture, and then so the JSON wire protocol is just like a bundle of let's say how would I like a source code that helps you bundle your message from the client to your server, and then the server emits that message to any device or that you're trying to automate. Yeah. Now, how Appium works. Um, the reason why I'm going through this is because by the time we go into the automation aspect, we'll be coming across all this. But it's good for us so that we understand how it works as compared to, and then when we are doing the practicals, we understand how things work and how what we are doing as well. So Appium works on the back of desired capabilities. Desired capabilities are keys and values sent to the Appium server to let you know what type of automation session we are interested in starting up. So examples of desired capabilities are the device name, which is your phone name. It could be anything. The UDID. The UDID is like the device ID of your phone. So when Appium is trying to send message to the server, Appium. So when the Appium clients, when trying to send message to the server, it makes use of these desired capabilities. So for instance, it will go, you have to specify things like, okay, what is the name of my phone? My phone name is my phone. What is the ID of your phone? What is the platform name of your phone? I'm using Android phone. What is the version? I'm using the version 6. So now, so that is the for the device that you are trying to carry out automation on, and then it now goes into the specifics. What is the name of the application that I'm trying to automate? What is the activity of the application? And then you also have some values which you might set depending on the types of automation session that you are trying to start using the Appium server. So, and as I said earlier, so they are set. So the desired capabilities are set. They are set on the Appium client, and they go as JSON objects onto the Appium server for it to handle the request. So basically, the desired capabilities, they carry the request that we want to send from Appium to your mobile device, and then to target your application. So, so basically, for instance, if let's say on this device that we have to the right of the screen here, maybe you have WhatsApp. So if you write your if you write your code in Java or C# or whatever, and you then send it to, and then Appium client takes that code, bundles it into a wire protocol, sends it to the server, and then based on whatever message it's carrying, it sends it to the device. So you have to say, okay, Mr. Appium, go to Android version 5, and then open up WhatsApp on it. So that is basically what Appium will do for you, and then it sends back the information to say, okay, well, I've opened WhatsApp on iPhone 4 or iPhone 5, and I have typed in my version or whatever you've asked it to do. Let's say you say, okay, just open it, then it sends back the information back to the client, and then on your Visual Studio or whatever you're using, you can then see that your test passes based on whatever scripts or code that you've written. Now, there are different ways of installing Appium. I'll just go through this quickly. In the next session or in the next class, we'll be looking at the practicals. We'll actually start the environment setup and the practical aspects of this year. So you can install Appium with Node.js. So this is from your terminal or from your command line. So it's a package. So basically, if you have Node.js on your application on your device, um, through that you can just install Appium directly, or you can go to online to the Appium website and then download Appium directly from there. All right, so I think I'll just leave this for now. Manual testing, we can use an example of a mobile testing tool that has emulators is SmartPeer BitBar. So if you just Google it, if you Google let's say we have if you Google mobile emulators here. So you have different types of emulator. There are different types, you know. We have this one. Sorry, mobile emulators. Emulators for mobile testing. Yes, emulators. So example. So as I said to you, we have I showed you Source Labs. You know, that's one of them. So like this, this site will give you a comparison of the best ones, and you know, so you can just Google them and all that. But and this is an example of a cloud-based emulator. So we have it gives us the opportunity to create automated tests. It says start live testing. Start testing your app on one or many devices. So if I click on this one, this should give me different emulators here. So I'm using, this is a trial version. So when you are using, most of them with the trial version, they just give you access to few devices and all that. So you can come here. It should be good for you to just play around with this. Create a free account. Go to Smart Bit Bar, create a free account, and then just navigate your way through all this here. So you can have for if your requirement is to test iOS version, let's say 13 version 12 upwards, so you can then just filter out version 12 upwards, apply the filter. It shows you, so it shows you the devices that have iOS version 12 upwards, and then you can then pick them and use them to run your tests and all that. So you can change the view as well, depending on what you prefer. So the another thing is the API level as well. So you have API level uh, for mostly for Android versions as well. So if I apply the filter, you can see that the API, most of these are Android devices. You won't find any iPhone device with API level. So API level is something that you also need to know what you need to know about, because by the time we are doing the automation, we'll be talking about API levels. So if you go to if you go to I think appium.io, Appium docs. Uh, if you go, no, sorry, Appium.io. So yeah, if you come here, it's a good thing for you to. So as I said, so you can download Appium directly from these websites. And then if you look at the documents, it would be good for you to just go through this website just to have an understanding of what Appium does and how it works here. So if you look at the documentation as well, yeah, so introduction to Appium, what it does, the philosophy, the design, the concepts, so we talked about design capabilities, how to install it, and all that. So, and then if you are looking at this one, the UI Automator, for that, so it talks about different things as well, and it talks about the I'm trying to look for the API level. There's a place where you would find bear with me. Okay, let me search API level. API. No, I think it's taking me outside of. No. It's taking me outside of the. So okay, and no, I'm sorry. It's taking me outside of who I'm looking for. Writing tests, Android. Yeah, it's somewhere here, not this one, but all right. So by time we start going through the automation, how to do the automation and all that, we'll come across the API level. So I just wanted to just show you what this API level is very important, because for every device that you pick, it has an API level. And the very recent devices have I think the very latest Android version will have an API level of 29. So, and then I'll also tell you how you can check that on your phone. And there's actually a website where you can check your device version, and then it will tell you what the API level is and all that. So as I said earlier, it will be good for you to just go through these websites. So we have, so yeah, so and also the Android versions and all that, so iOS version and all that. So the automation one, so you can create an automated test depending on what device version you want to use. So for instance, if I click on this iOS uh, uh, framework or version, and I click on the Appium, we are doing an Appium test. So when I click on that, so um, for the mobile application that you are trying to automate or you are trying to test, you can use. So I think for the IPA, I think are for the iOS versions, and the zip ones are for the Android versions and all that. So another thing that you can do is to either click, if you have it like an application that you've saved on your laptop, you can click this. So I think I might have to show you probably next week. I'll show you. I'll download an application and then I'll run this. I would show you how to upload how to actually upload a native an application from a local application that is sitting on your laptop onto this website, and then do a test run of for using virtual devices on that particular application. Yeah. So at this particular point, I'm going to use their samples. So I'm not install on choose or upload the file. I'm using their samples. All right. So used to, yeah, okay, used to. So I'm using this zip file. I don't know what it is, but it's a sample application on their website, and I'm using on this website, and I'm using it as a sample application to run this test. So I want to use existing device group. I'm using the trial. Let's use the, well, it only gives me the trial iOS version because I'm running an iOS targeted operating systems iOS. So it gives me the trial iOS versions, yeah, of devices. So once I click the select one or more files, so okay, I think here is the, hold on a second. So, okay, copy, use this to run the tests. Okay, so it says because we are running iOS. All right, let me run Android. It doesn't look like they have any. Appium user samples. I don't want to install it on my used to run tests. Yes, it's the APK. Yeah. So I don't need this one. Yeah. Like on it, you would always have APK for Android anyway. So okay, trial Android devices. So I'm using the trial Android devices, and then why is it? Hold on. Install on the device. Okay. So.
So use their samples, APK used to do the run. Okay, but I'm clicking the copy used to do the test run. APK, yeah, so we need the APK, yeah. Android, copy to device. Alright, so I think I have to do, okay. So I don't know why it's not allowing me to use this. So this is the kind of the applications and all that. So free trial, cloud emulators and all that. So I don't know why it's used to. So basically what I'm doing is that I'm picking up, I'm actually using well, their hosted applications here. So what it's saying, and it's an APK. So I'm running that on an Android. An Android uses APK. So I'm using the APK whatever, but it says framework requires application file with extension APK. Okay, let me try and refresh the site and all. So let me just check. So if I can't run the test, I'll just show you an example of what the test will look like and the results. All right. So as I showed you earlier, this is BitBar. Yeah. So it's an example of a mobile testing tool. This is the dashboard. You have the automation testing, the live testing, and the artificial intelligence driven testing. So basically, this was what I was trying to show you earlier. To create the automated tests using the emulators in the cloud, you'd have to select your target operating system. You'd have to select your framework. So the framework you'll be using is the Appium framework. You choose your file. So the file is the application that you are trying to automate, and then you choose your device, and then you have the option to create and run your tests. So I'm not sure if this is very clear. So this is basically what I was trying to do. So for this particular instance, I selected an iOS test. I selected an Appium framework, and I selected this is not really clear. 1 second. So let me see if I can make it larger. So you would see that. So you'll see that here. Second. All right. So you see that. So I selected okay. Well, install on device. So because it's so I select the IPA extension for the application, and then I choose the target device group, and then I ran my test. So let me see if I can just quickly do this again to see if it's going to work. So 1 second. Let's see if we can quickly get this working. But basically, this is so if by the time you get your test running, your test will be. So you'd have this screen come up. By the time you click run automated test, you have depending on the number of devices that you picked to run your test against. You would have them displayed here. You have your device execution status, number of devices running. It will tell you the success ratio, and it will give you some other indices as well. and the device group, the created time, the language, and then the name of the your profile name and all that. So this is this is like the outcome page. It shows this is not really clear. So uh, the outcome page, you have your test results displayed here. The device instance. You have your results page. Uh, let me just do something. Let's see if this is test. You come here. You select your target operating system. You are using an Appium framework, and then because you are using an iOS operating system, iOS extension application that you are going to upload or use is the IPA. We'll have an extension of IPA. If it's an Android application, it will have an extension APK. So I'm going to use a sample application, maybe I don't know whether or native application from Bitbar website. So if I click on that sample, I click install on device. So basically what you are saying here is that you want to install this application on the virtual device that you are running your test against. So the name of the application is Bitbar sample blah blah blah. So let's say this is eBay application, for example. Let's say the name of the application you want to run your test against is eBay. So you are saying install eBay on my test device. So your test device is not physical; it is sitting somewhere in the cloud. So once you have installed it on the device that you want to run it against, then you create and run your automated tests. So basically, my test is running now. It is waiting, or it says it is waiting to run. So, all right. So, okay. So I'll show you an example of a test that has finished, uh, ran successfully and finished. So the one we just started is running. This is the one we started now. This is running. I have one that has finished running, and if I go to my dashboard, I should see the execution here. So this is the execution. So I have one user, one. Uh, so hold on, my. Okay, so these are my test run. So I have one test run that is in progress. I have one that has completed successfully. So if I click on the one that has completed successfully, let's click on that one. So this is the test results. Yeah, it says device execution status finished 100%, test success ratio 100% finished. This is the file that I used. I don't need to open them. So the file is just the application that you are testing. This is the device that I used. So if it is a paid version, you might pick, depending on what you want to do, you might pick 100 devices, 10 devices, 5 devices. But this is a free version, so I'm only entitled to one application, one device. So if I click on the logs, output logs, it is creating me a zip file and downloading the logs. Well, so yeah, so it has downloaded the logs for me here. I don't need to open that. So I can also click on performance, and then it will download a performance zip for me as well. So another thing I can do is to, okay, I have this. I can open on the one that is running. This one is still running. It's still running, and then if I go to my dashboard, I should be able to see the status of all my test run. So in the last 30 days, I've had 100% success ratio on my test run. So there is one other thing which I want to show you. So where is that? So I should be able to show you the, so you can edit the names, you know. To be honest, I think if you go to, this is free. If you open this up, you can play around with it. Doing it will enable you to understand more, and you can then, you know, talk this through your interview and all that. So you have start a live test, so you can start a live test as well. So when starting a live test, you pick your test. Okay, so this is user. Okay, so I'm only allowed to have one test running at a time, so I can't have two tests. So yeah, so and then you can also have the capabilities creator. I think this automatically helps you to generate your capabilities and all that. So the capabilities that we said that Appium would use to create an automated session, that would help you to generate that. So um, so this is okay. It's still running. I know it's still running. So you can share your project. You can delete your project. You can see what is running. Expand it. To be honest, we should. You can add tags to it. Maybe if it's a regression tag, and you can actually use this for manual testing, manual mobile application testing. And then every time you have your every time you want to run it, you can then click on this button and retry test run. So are you sure you want to run the whole test again? So you can tag this as, for instance, I can tag this as a regression test, and save it. It says, why is it not saving? Well, maybe I'm not allowed to save. I don't know. Yeah. So, and then every time you want to run that regression pack, you just come here, you click yes, and you click that, and then you click yes, and then it runs the whole test again. So, depending on your configuration and all that. So, I think it's something it's something that you can test and try and see how it works there. And so the one, so because we have a test that is running at the moment. Let me see whether it's finished. Okay, so it's finished. Okay. Uh, this has, oh, okay, there's one. So while this one is running, so when this finishes running, you should have a page displayed like this. It will tell you, I don't know, so it normally takes a while for that to finish. Let me refresh the page. So you have to constantly refresh the page to see to get the latest, to pull the latest information from the cloud. So it's still running. It's still running. But when it finishes, you would have a page like this come up. Let me just enlarge this. You would have a page like this. You have a page like this come up, and then you can see the device. You can see the status of the device. You can see your test summary, methods 100% pass. It tells you it gives you the duration, the number of errors that you have, and then it gives you like a timeline of the activities, and then you would have like a video recording of the steps, and then it gives you screenshots as well. So it's a good application that you can try out. And then these are the logs. These are the logs that it's downloaded for me. So if you look at the logs, for instance, you can use the log to do any form of debugging or to troubleshoot any errors and all that. If there's a test failure somewhere here, you can then go into the logs to read the logs and say, okay, maybe at this line 23 there is something failed. Then you can use that to raise your bugs and and then you can attach the screenshots provided as well. Then it also shows you the memory, the performance of the application against your CPU, your computer usage as well, and also the memory, you know. So it gives all those performance indices and all that. So I will say that it's something that it's worth looking at, and you can try this out. Just have a feel. I also recommend that you look at C-Test Cloud. This is also free. This is very similar to BitBar. I would say that during the course of the week, you can have a look at that and see and have a feel of how they work. To be honest, it is something that you need to do to really understand to really understand how it works. Yes, and then you'll be able to talk about that in an interview or during the year or when you're being asked to talk about it.